Warning: this stream is rated for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the WandaNet Domestic Shelters.org Theater. My name is Scotty, also known as EBC. To my right, the one and only, the man who is can only be described as a menace to society, the beautiful Legion Cage, sporting he is a train conductor today. He is Mr. Shining Time himself. He replaced George Carlin on Shining Time Station when Carlin said "fuck this shit." And then finally, our guest for this evening, Star Road Game Cafe, otherwise known as that hobo over there. Hello, welcome, and how are you all doing? Glad you could join us. Uh, today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to have a guest other than my brother, who's going to help us commentate and kibitz and go over several things. But we're going to do a review, basically, of games that came out in 2020 and 2021 during the height of COVID pandemic and everything else going on in the world. So we're just gonna have fun with that and talk all over the place about things that happened during that period in the gaming world. But first off, let me mention our sponsor for this month on the EBC channel. That is WandaNet, and she is directing you, if you are so inclined, to domesticshelters.org, where you can search for your local domestic violence shelter and get in contact with them to see if there are any supplies that they need that you would be willing to donate. Anything that you can help out with is greatly appreciated there. And yeah, so on the Arcade Nostalgia Memories podcast, we are on episode 10, and we only have 2 more episodes after this left in the season. I was aiming for 14 when it came to the number of episodes we had before we take a break for the summer, and then we'll start season 2 in the fall. But just because of time constraints and everything else going on, we're going to have 2 more episodes, and we'll get to that after we cover some other stuff here. But episode 10, and then we will have episode 11, and then episode 12 will be our season 1 finale in May. So yeah, quickly approach it. I mean, time flies when you're having fun, and sometimes when you're not having fun and you have no clue what the hell's going on because you're drunk half the time like I am. But the video game world, me being the host of a podcast about video games, where I'm not even a gamer, or like half the time I'm not playing games. I'm just trying to, make sure my shit is taken care of, and even in my forms of relaxation. Sometimes I play some games, but most of the time I'm just, couch potatoing, watching TV, and yeah. So my knowledge of games is pretty limited. Like anytime there's one of these conventions, or not conventions, the like the E3, the release where they get online and they all the gaming companies show off their newest wares. Yeah, I don't watch any of that shit. So Cage, being our resident gamer in action, has provided us with a list that we're basically gonna pick and choose and go all over the place with this, and just start reviewing some of these games. We're gonna watch some trailers, and feel free as we go through this to in our live chat tell us anything you want. Comments about the games, or if there's a particular game you would like us to look at that came out in 2020 or 2021, put it in the chat. And any questions you have, of course, go ahead and put those in the chat as well, and we will answer them to the best of our ability, which is probably going to be half-assed anyway, so you might as well just give up. Anyway, so the first thing I want to look at here, let me come on over here to this. Anyway, welcome everybody. Glad you can make it. This is the Enigma Blockbuster Cinema Theater, currently known as the WandaNet DomesticShelters.org Theater. We will be changing signs soon, as our new sponsor is currently within the vicinity, and will be making his presence known shortly when he gets his shit together. But no, dude, we have both, all of us have been so freaking busy in the last 3 to 4 months. So much going on between work and just like me alone, I could tell you we had a major plumbing issue in my house. Trying to get a car ready to sell, trying to purchase a new vehicle, just all sorts of stuff going on, not including the other stuff that we do here on Twitch and Discord, like the audio drama we have coming up here on May 1st, getting prepared for that, and just so much stuff all over the place. And I'm hoping it's actually going to settle down here pretty quick. Taxes. Oh, fuck, I still gotta do my taxes. They're due on April 18th.
What the hell are you doing? Hurry up.
Just making excuses, that's all. But yeah, so much has been going on, and and then of course, trying to make a schedule here on Twitch work. And that was part of it, with the schedule we've had for RCADE, where sometimes it's all over the place, and we try to get an episode in where we can, but these also take quite a bit of planning too. So the
You plan
basically all I'm saying is that we're doing the best we can to try to pump out these episodes, and it's not always the way we want it to be, but it's fun. It's fun. We have a lot of fun making these and putting them out. So, all right. So let's see here. Cyberpunk. Did they finish making Cyberpunk yet?
It's my understanding that the PS5 version apparently is fine, right? So there's no issues with that.
The next gen upgrades, I believe, did come out, and everyone seems to have little issues with it. It might not be as popularized though, because of how how polarizing the game was when it first came out for the previous gen consoles.
Very bad first impression.
Yeah, I mean, it was even top of the line PCs were still struggling to run it. Which I know games aren't a lot of games, they're made on PCs and quote unquote, made for PCs, but they're not always optimized for PCs if they're being released on a console. A lot of times they're actually optimized specifically for the console. So even if your PC is quote unquote more powerful than like a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, you still might get a lacking experience out of it.
Right, because you can't kind of erase the sort of fine print that designed it to work on a PS4.
Yeah.
It's a whole other animal.
Well, and you also have, I mean, they've been trying to push the limits as to what is actually going to work on the equipment that the overwhelming majority of people have for many years now. Like, you come out with a brand new game, great graphics, looks fabulous, looks beautiful, a pleasure to play, doesn't work on the system.
Yeah.
And that could be as simple as you simply don't have the newest graphic card, or the second newest graphic card that came out, because you're playing on your PC that maybe it's 2 years old, or your equipment just needs a general upgrade. Who knows? There's so many different factors in that, and everything that comes into play with that. But that's interesting. I didn't know that about the it being optimized for a console, and that affects how it's not optimized for PC.
It can. To give you a more recent example, a lot of the members, like in our little like circle of people, have been playing a game recently called Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Take Mr. Wrong for example.
Do we have to take Mr. Wrong?
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
Take him where?
He tried playing it on his PC and it would not run. And he has a decent gaming PC. Like, he ended up using his husband's other PC, which to my understanding isn't like, it's a more powerful PC, but it's not a gaming PC either, if that makes any sense. But people running it on console, no problem whatsoever. And we're talking like Xbox Ones and PS4s, not the new consoles. So
yeah, wasn't that the first one that they started having some like major cross-platform, simply because the PS5 was so limited in availability to purchase?
Well, it's been like that for a while. Some games that would otherwise be cross-platform probably, I assume developers are holding off because they know that people can't get their hands on a PS5. Still, how long has it been?
November 12th of 2020, because I actually had to look up that date for this podcast.
So
and here we are,
4 months,
a year and a half later, and I still get notifications in my email you know, GameStop will have a supply of PlayStation 5s on this date. Target will have a supply of PlayStation 5s
Yeah.
on this date.
Yeah.
You know, yada yada. Like there's still
And then the next day they're gone.
low demand or high demand
Yeah.
and low supply.
Well, and I got to imagine with the microchip shortage, that's going to be like that for quite some time.
Probably.
You know, although I did hear that Intel is planning on opening a brand new production factory here in Ohio.
Nice.
So, Lord knows when that would be completed, but maybe that will, positively affect the chip shortage and.
Well, yeah, because it's not just video games that is being affected by that, like cars and other things.
Anything that's got a microchip in it.
Yep. Yeah. My boss went to buy a brand new car because his car was finally going to give out on him, and he couldn't test drive one because they didn't have one on the lot available for him to test drive. He had to put a deposit on it to get one ordered for him. He had to wait almost a month after putting the deposit on it to get it, and at least the salesman was pretty upfront and open with him about it. They were selling it $3,000 above MSRP because it was, they were in that such limited supply.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm in the process right now of buying a new vehicle, and I have my range of what I'm going to be able to afford, which basically means I'm not going to be able to purchase a vehicle over, say, $24,000 or $25,000 tops. So that also limits it. But looking at that, and even just driving past the car lots, they are so empty. Like,
Yeah, I was gonna say they're pretty empty.
Less than half, maybe a third. And I've also seen a few dealerships also close down, and sell their stock to a different dealer because they have such trouble getting new vehicles on their lot, and with the used market the way it is, all kinds of repercussions and waves and negative effects all throughout the economy, and this is all over the world too. Supply chain issues. Like my understanding was that the microchip shortage was primarily being caused by COVID restrictions, where they couldn't have people in the factories in India and China and wherever else that they're doing this to actually create the pieces and keep up with the demand. So there's a 6-month delay in microchips being shipped to people that, companies that have ordered them for whatever they need, simply because they haven't been able to get enough people in there to actually make them. And on top of that, like I also remember something in the news, like maybe I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, about the diminishing supply of silver, because silver is big in used in the production of circuit boards and that, and cell phones. Cell phones too. So they started offering things like, turn in your old cell phone so they could take it to the factory and pull all the silver out of it and reuse it for new stuff, But then again, they've also been doing things like that for years with core charges on automotive parts, where they want to reuse a core piece of it that is very expensive to produce, and if you don't take that core piece back to them to replace it, they charge you for whatever. I guess that's like a good form of recycling, to say the least. But
Yeah.
All right. So let's get started here, and we're going to start with a Final Fantasy VII Remake, which
game sucks.
Joel played. No, I already got one here. Joel played or did the Final Fantasy VII OG for his arcade episode a couple of months ago, or maybe that was a couple of years ago. I don't know. Time flies when you're fat and abusive.
Yes.
But so Final Fantasy VII Remake, just came out not too long ago, April 10th in 2020, right at the height of COVID. And I remember because I had purchased this for his birthday, which is April 7th, and I had it on order, and they delayed it because that was right about the time, end of March, when they decided to shut everything down for 2 weeks. And I remember having a conversation with the store manager of my local GameStop where I had put the deposit down, and her telling me, these were the precautions they had in place. Sorry, you can't come in the store, but I can give it to you at the door, and whatever else they had to do when they did finally reset it. But yeah, Cage, did you see anything on like how that affected or impacted sales of the game? The fact that they closed down just before it was supposed to release?
Yeah, so when the initial shutdown order for Ohio, it was what, like, I want to say March 21st or something like that, because it was like
No,
a day or two after Animal
now that
Crossing.
I'm thinking about it, I know for a fact it was March. It had to be March 16th or March 17th. And the reason I think that is because I was working for the Board of Elections at the time, and we had our primary election that was on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th. And at 11 p.m. the night before, they were still going back and forth with the courts and the governor deciding whether or not they were going to move forward with the election the next morning. And then they finally postponed it. So it had to be real close right around there.
Okay. I knew it was right around there because, I fell into the hole that was Animal Crossing, which a lot of people did. And I was playing that while I was at home for 2 weeks because my store was one of the stores we were kind of given the decision to stay open in the limited precautions that they had set forth or go ahead and close. And of course, I made the decision to close, and then was called the next day, practically begged to reopen my store, and I still refused to. But but by the time that Final Fantasy VII had come out, we had basically been told we need to reopen the store, and I had gone back to work in the limited precautions. It was very weird, at least in selling the game at a game store. Scotty, you were exactly right. They couldn't come in. We could hand the game through them, through the door to them. We weren't doing cash. We were only doing credit cards or debit cards.
Which also made that kind of difficult because I remember, walking up, first calling her and letting her know I was there to pick up the game, going, her meeting me at the door, taking my credit card to take back up to the reader at the counter and run it and so I could pay for it, and then bringing that and the game back, and waiting outside during that whole thing too.
Mm-hmm.
At least it was nice weather that day, I remember.
It was kind of crazy, like, to do it. I felt like my store, we were very limited on the people who were coming to pick it up. I had turned people away because they wanted to pay cash. My store was kind of in a rural area that, cash was king. So telling them that they couldn't buy it with cash, they were just like, "Oh, I'll just go down to the," like, I say it was a rural area, but there was a Target right behind my store, and Target is the top tier of, like, the Walmart-esque stores. So I don't know, whatever.
That's
but
true.
it was like, there were a lot of people turned away, and I don't think I got that many copies really to begin with. My store was in general like a lower volume store, but it was unique to try to have to deal with it in this new world as it was becoming, the world of Rona. So yeah, it was like I thought the game was probably going to suffer a lot from it. Looking at the actual data on here, the remake sold over 3.5 million copies within the first 3 days. Made it one of the biggest launches for PlayStation 4 and the fastest selling PS4 exclusive at the time, surpassing the launch of Spider-Man and God of War. By August, it went on to sell 5 million copies. I think what really did it for this game, and for games in general, probably as we'll discuss more going on, was the growing advent of digital. You know, to someone like me and Joel, digital is like evil.
You want that artwork in the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But when you have millions of people who are stuck at home,
right,
like quarantined at home and can't go anywhere. I mean, yeah, you can order from Amazon and get it delivered to your house still. Or even GameStop or Walmart or Target, whatever service you want to have it delivered to your house. But if you're going to get online and play with, buy it with a credit card, well, I could just buy it and download it in an hour and then I'm playing it.
Yep.
So, I think had digital not been a thing and we had suffered the same state of affairs with COVID-19,
much lower sales.
Yeah, it would have really suffered.
Well, and I'd be interested to see maybe some statistics on how many physical copies they sold at release versus how many digital downloads.
That'd be interesting to see.
Compared to maybe a major game that came out prior to the lockdown.
It was definitely the most downloaded PlayStation 4 game in April 2020 in the United States.
Wow.
The only thing I see in here about physical copies was in the UK sold an estimated 60,000 physical copies. Which doesn't sound like a ton when you bank it against 3.5 million copies in 3 days. But the UK is also, what, a tenth of the size of the United States?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and keep in mind, we're also talking about the release of a much anticipated game like Final Fantasy VII Remake. But like you said, you were, and how many other people were kind of caught in the swirling pit of despair at home, just trying to pass the time and get through the thing that everybody worldwide was going through, this lockdown. And here's a game for you right now called Animal Crossing New Horizons. And we don't have to do anything else, so let's just sit here on our butts and play these games for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't like that for me. Even if I was a gamer, I as an Uber driver, I was out there working the whole time. There was no rides for 2 weeks because nobody was going anywhere. But I mean, I switched over to Uber Eats food delivery during that time, which was unbelievably busy because everybody was getting takeout and having it delivered. But yeah. We're getting a raid in our live chat here on Twitch. Sleight of Game, welcome. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the raid. Hello, raiders. Welcome.
Oh, hold on, we got to greet him properly. Brace yourself for a raid.
Yeah. Yeah, he says there's no it's a ding, and I don't believe him. That's just a complete fallacy. Anyway, welcome, Raiders. If you do not know me, my name is Scotty EBC. You are joining us in the middle of our Arcade Nostalgic Memories podcast, where normally we interview a gamer and more specifically the memories they have surrounding that game. We cover all sorts of different types of games. So far this season, it's been video games, but we are looking to branch out. This episode that we're recording right now, however, we're just doing a simple review of some of the video games that came out in 2020 and 2021. So if you have any questions in chat, or you would like us to discuss one of the games that came out during that time, just put it in our live chat there, and we'll be happy to address it. But welcome, and thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you. And we're going to watch now the trailer for Final Fantasy VII Remake. And tell me what you guys think of this.
Lame, I hate it already.
So, Cloud,
Fuck off.
you were a
It's
soldier
beautiful.
first class, right?
Yeah.
Weird.
Now,
Really? What's weird about it?
here's the thing I'll say about this game
Nothing.
right away.
Just
Okay,
that you were the same rank.
is that I think it's beautiful.
As
Like,
who?
Yeah, the
I
graphics
think-
are
First guy I ever
fabulous.
loved.
yeah, I think graphically they really did the original game justice. You know, by bringing it into this new vibrant world.
Your eyes.
Changing the battle system, however,
Yes,
that's what irked me.
Aerith is an ancient,
I'll fight you on that one.
probably the last one living.
You
I have my
are
pros
just
and
a
cons,
little girl. You're a descendant of the ancients.
You're wrong. I'm not an ancient.
What
When
trailer
you're
is
older
this?
and you're a
I
famous
don't know.
soldier,
It's the first
if
one
I'm
I
ever
pulled up.
trapped
Final
or
Fantasy
in
VII
trouble,
Remake trailer.
I don't think it's one of the official
Promise,
trailers. I
you'll
think
come
it's
and
just
save
somebody took some cutscenes from it.
Sephiroth.
But that
Soldiers.
works.
Really?
I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of this.
I've never been so proud.
Women must
Say,
be hounding you day
I've
and
not
night.
completed the
I'd
remake,
really
so I
love
don't
to
know if
stay in
these
chat,
cuts.
but we gotta
Yeah,
go.
no,
Like
this
I've never
so
seen like
soon.
any of these cutscenes.
Right, no, this is a lot of cutscenes. I remember the original 3 trailers. This might, or it might be like a post-release trailer of some kind.
Yeah.
You seek my approval, do you?
Yeah, really, I
I
should
should warn
see
you.
if I can
Dale,
find, something
Give it
put
back.
out from like an official Square Enix
Give it
channel or
back.
something.
Are you going?
It's fine. It works.
Yeah, this
It
works.
works.
I wish I didn't have to.
Shinra has confirmed the reactor to be the target of the bomb threat.
Sephiroth do this?
they ought to stamp them out.
He might have.
falling, and Avalanche is to blame.
But I work for Shinra. I'm the enemy.
I don't care.
Greetings and welcome. Avalanche, I presume.
You mean you're not here to give President Shinra his comeuppance?
I've also drafted a That will not be needed.
2 words, Reeve. Neo Midgar.
Come on, let's push it past the red line! Stop them, you fools! Don't let them escape!
They're going to drop the plate on us?
Yes.
Whispers, perhaps best described as arbiters of fate.
No, you don't! Not when
Yeah, it
I'm
looks like a
working.
fan-made.
I
But
promise you will regret
it's showing off a lot of the,
you stand has been condemned.
some of the cool stuff.
You're a soldier, aren't you? Which, of course, would mean that I own you.
Through suffering, you will grow strong. Isn't that what you want? Come on, you see the piece of shit we're driving here?
Says the 300-pound sack of it.
Hey!
I feel like that house fight is like one of the last fights I did on that game.
That was a doozy.
Justice, honor, freedom, vain indulgences everywhere.
Every time the whispers touch me, I lose something, a part of myself.
Tonight marks a new beginning. For Shinra!
This could well be her last line of defense. Let's go.
Let us defy destiny. Together. Cloud, there's still so much to be done.
Yeah, Sephiroth definitely did that.
It's actually not a horrible fan-made trailer, and the reason being is a trailer is always just a teaser. An official trailer is always just a teaser. If you're a fan of original Final Fantasy VII and you were wondering whether or not you should play that game, the remake, that's a pretty good, like, throws some hints at you as to whether or not you're gonna like it, because they give you little hints of more Sephiroth and other little things and characters that, you know, some of what they showed was a lot of things that were like sort of added or changed. So if you're a strict fan and you wanted a shot for shot remake, you're going to be disappointed. But all right, hold on.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Cage, you brought up the battle system. All right.
Oh boy.
So I'm going to say one thing about it, and this is the main reason I love the battle system.
That before you do that, that was on the PlayStation.
Oh, it must have been a post-release trailer, because there was some scenes from Endgame in that
final trailer. So like like if you look at that, it was literally posted 2 years ago today, April 3rd, 2020. So
it was right before it came out.
Game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They did.
So it was that final hype trailer.
Wow, I had no idea. Yeah. Well, yeah, because they did all the cocktease, and then that was some like.
Well, then maybe
here's some story bits and dialogue.
Maybe that's what they were trying to accomplish with that, was trying to make it maybe look a little more fan made, as opposed to something that you would generally see from a game production company.
Right. Well, yeah, because the first 2 or 3 were very cinematic and typical trailer. But okay, battle system. All right. The thing is, if you're a fan of turn-based and you wanted something like that, you didn't get it. You're disappointed. But I think they did a lot in that real-time action Devil May Cry bullshit that catered to fans of turn-based, like the ability to still kind of stop time and execute commands and strategize the way you would in real turn-based. You cannot just hack and slash your way through that game, especially on like normal hard mode. I dare you to just try to button mash through hard mode on that. You can't. You have to strategize, and the game encourages you to switch back and forth between characters and build up AP and use your limit and you know, sort of figure it out the way you would if it was slow paced turn based. So that part appealed to me. You still have to strategize.
And that's fair. I'm not saying that the battle system was bad. Okay. For what it was good. It just
yeah, it hits different. It's not the same. I get it.
It hits different. It hits different.
I get it.
And
yeah,
you know, I'm more accepting of it now that I know the how do I want to put it? I like spoiler of what the game is. Joel, I think you know what I'm talking about as far as you know how this storyline is.
Yeah, some of the new directions they're taking it.
So knowing that now, like, it makes it unique enough that me personally as a gamer, I want to continue.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'm excited.
So,
I got fully roped in, even with the ending that is highly controversial. I still want to know how they're going to redeem themselves on that one. So, yep, eagerly back to the PS5 problem. Eagerly awaiting news of a release date for Part 2, and it's for sure only going to be on PS5 and then maybe PC.
Unless they're still having this issue, and they know that a majority of people aren't going to be able to play it on PS5.
No, because that goes back to my original concern of how many parts is this episodic thing going to be? Because if all of the rest of the parts of the game till they finish it are the same size or chunk as that one, and they don't want to skip massive story beats along the way, it'd have to be 8, 9, 10 parts. That's the thing about it, is that it's just...
So how many parts do you think they're going to have total?
I'm guessing 3.
Okay.
And 2 and 3 are going to be triple the size of this first one. because that was just Midgar. It was 10% of the original story.
Right, but what I'm saying is if the majority of the people that would otherwise purchase Part 2 still do not have a PS5 when that comes out,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're not going to try to do that same cross-platform thing and make it available for download on PS4 simply so they can get the same amount of money as they would if it was normal and everybody could buy a PS5.
Yeah, but then to compensate for that, you know, it's going to be much smaller.
I don't think so. I think you're banking on too much of the differences between this generation and last generation of consoles. Like when consoles used to be a giant jump in between them, yeah, okay, I would probably agree with you. But when you have like you've got the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 4 Pro, and the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 4 was a half jump. The PlayStation 5 now is effectively the full other jump, but it's still not as big a jump as like when we went from Nintendo to Super Nintendo.
Yeah, you're right.
Like it's not that crazy of a difference.
The intervals are getting smaller, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we were able to like close that gap by having that half jump during the generation, I don't think they really need to worry about it in terms of producing the game as such. I will bet you $100 straight up it launches day and date, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, same day. For part 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. It will eventually come to other consoles as well. They said it is timed exclusivity for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Now, I will also bet you money that we would get the first part on Xbox consoles and Nintendo consoles before we see part 2 hit the light of day.
Yeah. But, yeah, they still haven't even gotten it. It's just PC.
Yeah.
Well, and like, I can't even play Intergrade on PS4, can I? That's PC.
No, Intergrade as of right now is 5 only. No. I believe that will, when it comes out for the other consoles, Intergrade will also hit PS4. They were just trying to get some kind of exclusivity idea for the PlayStation 5.
I would be very excited about that, but you have to take into consideration again how much, and yes, it was very padded. There was a lot of filler, but they made Midgar a 40-hour experience. So they either have to cut all the filler and you know, kind of stick to the original story if they're going to do that, or it's going to be a lot more parts than 2 or 3.
Maybe that's exactly what they're going to do, is just stick with the main story and then have anything else as DLC.
Oh, that would be ideal, but that doesn't sound like Square Enix to me.
Yeah,
or give us a bunch of episodes, but they can't come out every 2-3 years, or we're not going to finish it till 20 years from
PlayStation
now.
7.
Right. I got to imagine that's simply because of COVID, that they have so much time between part 1 and part 2.
Yeah.
And
they came out
probably going to get one every 7 or 8 months.
Let's see if I can find
as long as they get enough people out, you know, back to work to do the production and whatever else. How many people have been working from home?
You know, and you bring up a good point there. I'd be okay with, because we had the Yuffie content, episode Intergrade, right? And I believe that's like its technical name is episode Intergrade.
Yeah.
If they did just started doing things like how the Telltale games, did you guys ever play any of the Telltale games? The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, anything like that? No, okay. They're very cinematic, story-driven games, similar to like.
I've seen.
I know you guys both watched us. Okay, you've seen Walking Dead. I know you guys watched us play the Dark Pictures game recently.
Yeah, Amanda Medan and that.
Yeah, very similar to those games, and they released them in episodic parts where you could buy the season pass disc that gave you all the episodes. That might be how they do it, where they release. You know, this whole game comes out in 15 parts, but they're just episodes here and here and here. You know, and episode Intergrade is the first episode of whatever the season pass ends up being. So that's how they get you to be able to play it on your PlayStation 4 when the time comes.
Yeah. I would love that. I would honestly consider not even buying a PS5. I have a PS4. The main reason I want a PS5 is for when part 2 comes out.
Well, like, and I got to imagine, you know, anybody that was interested in buying a PS5 hopefully is going to get a chance to do so at some point in the future before they start trying to come out like a, yeah, you shut up, fucking Cage. He's holding up this controller and licking it with his tongue, making love to it.
Cage has a PS5.
Yeah, look at me, I'm Cage. I got a PS5.
I do, and it's a glorified PS4. So
Yeah.
Well, but what I was saying is, all this stuff coming in there that eventually they're gonna release PS6. Eventually, okay. So at some point they just have to cut it off and say, okay, let's start moving towards a new platform, whatever, so we can continue to get the sale of new platforms. But either way, these are video game companies that are generally, except for fucking Nintendo, more interested in making money off of what they have, what they've been developing, not only to pay their people and keep on, keep this train rolling, the business of producing new video games, but also dealing and companies. I've seen this with so many different things, not just video game companies that do not change with the times and adapt to the market die.
Yeah.
So we may actually see some video game companies, if we haven't already, start to fold because they're not adapting to the times. Nintendo's always going to be there, but Square Enix, okay, if they don't make it available for PS4 and the majority of people don't have PS5s, they're not going to make as much money, and they know that. So they're going to come up with some kind of game plan action to get as much widespread possible, to get as many people to buy it as possible. And I got to imagine that they have to have some kind of action plan in place to deal with COVID times, to deal with the fact that there's so many people out there that haven't gotten a PS5 yet that want it and still make their money. And if they don't, then they're not going to survive.
That doesn't help us people waiting. Just because we think or know something is going to happen in the near future doesn't mean we're patient enough.
No.
And Square Enix is constantly working on 10 different games. I mean, they've put out shit in the Final Fantasy VII universe that has nothing to do with remake since we've gotten any kind of news about Part 2. Before we've gotten any news.
Well, and that's also differentiating between people that want a PS5, are going to buy a PS5 when they can and when it's available, and they have the money to do so, versus the people that want a PS5 but they're just dick poor and they can't.
I can't afford.
They can't afford it. They
That shit, how much is a PS5, Cage, before you get price gouged?
Actual retail on a digital only model is $399.99 US. A disc based model $499.99 US. And that is the actual retail price of the consoles. Now, even if you get them at retail price, typically speaking, you're not gonna get them you're not gonna be able to just walk in. And I will say, as someone who was on the opposite end of the counter for the PlayStation 5 and the Series X launches, if you come in and you buy just a console, to me, I kind of just want to punch you in the face, because I know why. You're just buying a console. You're not buying a console to play it. If you just walk in and want a console, you want it because you want to turn around and try to sell it for $800.
Yeah.
Like, no respecting gamer is going to walk into a GameStop, Target, Walmart, whoever, and buy the console by itself. You can't tell me that there is not a single thing that you're literally going to go home and just download a game.
Well, yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. Is maybe they're on the train of digital only people.
And that's quite possible. Yeah. But the vast majority of people will not.
Right.
They're like the guy that, when everybody was panic shopping, goes and buys 16 cases of toilet paper because they think they're going to sell it on the black market after the fact. Now, I know that worked with NES Classic when it first came out, because Nintendo, for their dumbass reason, whatever they justified it, decided on a very limited release for that, so it created a black market.
The same guy that decided the cord length of the controller should be about the size of my penis.
Yeah, he's a dick.
Yeah.
But all right. So yeah, that's Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I really enjoyed watching your long playthrough. Did you say there was a limiter on there where they wouldn't allow you to actually create clips beyond?
What's the name of that? It's a setting you can turn off in the PS4, but it stops you from broadcasting certain parts of certain games. There's a name for it.
Oh, I don't know the official name for it. I apologize. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I remember asking you. We had a conversation about it because I asked you if you were going to play the last, if you're going to finish it on stream, and you're like, yeah, I'd like to, but
I wasn't sure
if it broadcast like the last hour.
Well, and I know because that was my second playthrough. In my first playthrough, I was uploading to YouTube, and it wouldn't let me do the end. So I knew. I figured maybe enough time had passed. I wondered if they had, taken that restriction off by the time I was streaming it.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think they'd ever remove it once they set that. I really don't. Now,
and it's just endgame. It's just endgame.
You can circumvent that now.
Oh,
because you have a capture card.
Yeah, now I could. At the time, I was streaming from my PS4.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like the last couple hours of the game, 2 or so hours of the game. Everything up until then.
And I you don't run into that very often, but like I played Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 for a very long time, before I was streaming anything. And every once in a while, like whenever you go to like do a scene where the voice acting and the actual like true Dragon Ball animated characters are going to be talking and interacting with your character, pop up say gameplay recording has been stopped due to a blocked scene or whatever. And then when you exit the scene, it will say gameplay recording has resumed.
Right. That's crazy.
So
HDCP, that's it. Encrypted signals.
Okay. But yeah, and you can circumvent that
now I can with a
cap card.
No.
So
all right, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to take a short break here in a little bit. Before we do that, Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. I don't know if let me make sure I got a good trailer here. This one is, hold on, let's do this one first. Official cinematic launch trailer on August 4th, 2020. So this was on launch day.
And it's a silly, stupid, entertaining game.
Moving and how they move to, like some of the interactions with other players and things like that. Which, if you're not familiar, it is an MMO, and you're typically playing with between 40 and 60 other players at the same time, trying to get to the end of an obstacle course. So nobody else in our community plays that I've seen. I didn't even see Squidge play it. But another game that I followed, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that in past tense. I still follow her and still interact with her quite a bit, is Epileptic Gamer. Used to go under the, fuck you.
Professional podcast host.
Yes, thank you. That's why you all tune in. I used to watch like some of the times where she would get with her community members and try to do a community game night with Fall Guys, and I just absolutely loved it. So I decided, in my limited gamer capacity, to go ahead and purchase it on Steam. We just recently got it to work with a Xbox style controller on the PC, so now I'm going to be not necessarily here in our studio, but at my house once I have a new PC myself that'll be able to handle these kinds of higher graphic games. Going to be playing that because I find it very relaxing. It's a fun game to me. You know, very you don't. It's not like, I mean, obviously there's a competition aspect to it because you want to try to be first out of all of the, or whoever's left out of the obstacle course to get to the end. There's often various things with Fall Guys where they're pitting you against other players purposefully, and it very much is an elimination type thing where if you want to advance and to continue to get better in that, you definitely have to practice and continually up your game until maybe you can be the last person standing out of the 60 players. I don't care about any of that. I just find it a fun, relaxing game to play, to fool around and maybe increase my skill a little bit, with the hand-eye coordination and being able to see what I need to see and then actually put that into action. Which, I mean, that's kind of the purpose of all platformers, really, is you just need to be not only practicing that individual game to get the skill level needed for that game, but also just basic hand-eye coordination and the ability to not evolve, but see, what's the word I'm looking for? Not evolve. Hell, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway,
I was gonna say, like, it's a game, like, for me, like, that idea of that game would be a game that, yeah, you can practice and you can put time into it, but it's also a game you can just pick up and just kind of like turn your brain off for a little bit and just roll, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, you basically have to adapt. That's what the word I was looking for. Adapt to the scenario and change your gameplay style. But yeah, you can easily just go into what do they call that when you're driving and you suddenly realize you've driven however many miles and you don't realize it, but now you're focused on the road again. That kind of autopilot haze. You could definitely do that with Fall Guys, I think, because I mean, essentially, once you get used to the levels, there's very little that's new in there, and just like maybe an older platformer like Super Mario Brothers or Castlevania or that, once you know where everything is, you can easily go into that autopilot mode and just play to your heart's content. So I don't know that I'd actually be playing Fall Guys on stream anytime soon. There's quite a few things that I want to accomplish game-wise on stream before I ever really do that. But at least for me, it's a fun relaxer, and that came out on August 4th, 2020. So that's about the time I think people were starting to, like, even all around the country, some of the restrictions were really starting to relax and people were starting to get back to work. But I mean, I think it was a very popular game still, and I don't know, maybe I'm talking out my ass, but I think that might be a little bit of an indicator, is to see some of these bigger YouTubers and other Twitch streamers, playing modern and popular games, following the trends of the market for the gaming communities. Like everybody right now is playing Elden Ring because it's new and it looks great and everybody loves it.
Exactly why I'm not playing Elden Ring. I'm the only
'Cause
one not
Joel's
playing Elden Ring.
Freaking rebel.
Yeah.
Well, and that does happen. obviously a lot, the way that things trend, you know, and it works both ways too, positively and negatively. Like you guys know, I play Fallout 76, and we do stream it once in a while. When it first came out, that was the hot thing to do, was stream Fallout 76 and crap on it.
Yeah.
Like, just absolutely crap on that game. Do YouTube videos about how bad the game is, but yet you're sitting here sinking hours and hours and hours into this game that you so say you hate. But I think it was just because that was the popular thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, and how much of a difference is there between a game like, say, Elden Ring, where, or even, you know, like Borderlands 2 just came out with the Tiny Tina's
Wonderland
DLC. You know, a lot of these story-based games in general, where, you know, you're advancing, you're going to do this part of the quest, and then you beat that boss and do whatever else. How many hours the people would spend playing those games to advance the storyline, to advance in the game, versus something like Fall Guys, where, okay, 25 minutes later, I've had enough of this, I'm putting it down.
Yeah.
You know, it's a time passer, not necessarily something that you want to spend a lot of time on. Although I'm sure people do that too. You know, it's like crack cocaine to them or something. Who knows?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can have that with just about any game, truly. But yeah, that's exactly what that game would be to me. For the like, would be just something I could pick up and play, have a little bit of fun with, put it down, and not think twice about it. Not have to dedicate 2, 3, 4 hours to a play session.
Yeah. Or feel the urge to, at least.
Yeah.
There were times, you know, I'd stay up when Remake did come out. I would stay up hours just because I couldn't put it down. I had to see what was coming next, you know, story-wise, or where we were going, or see the next place and what they did.
All right, we're going to take a short commercial break and then come back. We're going to watch the trailer for the Xbox Series X console that came out in November of 2020. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Okay, so welcome back from our short commercial break. Again, if you're just joining us, my name is Scotty, EBC. Directly below me is the fabulous Conductor Cage. And below him, that's the guy that stands in the corner at the bread factory, pointing at all the bread makers and going, "You better let that rise." Anyway, we're gonna watch the trailer for the Xbox Series X console that came out. Hold on, I have it here. Courtesy of our lovely Conductor Cage, November 10th, 2 days before the PlayStation 5 came out. So here's the Xbox Series X.
Let's suppose that you were able every night to dream any dream you wanted to dream.
Nice balls.
And that you could have the power within one night to dream 75 years of time. And you would naturally, as you began on this adventure of dreams, fulfill all your wishes.
Alan Watts.
But now let's have a surprise. Let's have a dream which isn't under control. And then you would get more and more adventurous. And you would make further and further out gambles as to what you would dream. And finally, you would dream where you are now.
The refrigerator.
Oh, is it? It's literally a cube or a giant box. It's not a flat thing.
Correct.
Yes, because every console that has to come out has to be a completely fucking different shape, which is a nightmare for people who want to display consoles.
You're the only person who's like that, so fuck off.
No, me and every other collector.
Yes.
We need
exactly.
50 different sized shelves.
You got to, just like the game companies, you got to adapt.
Yeah. So, like, the Series X, right? This cube. Now, admittedly, I'm more of a PlayStation fan than I am Series X, but this is, in my personal and at the time professional opinion of a next gen gaming software or hardware platform, this is crap. Like 100% crap, because they didn't change the controller. At least Sony did something with their controller. They changed it. It's a whole new controller, and honestly, this is the best thing about the PlayStation 5, the controller. The system itself looks dumb, in my opinion. It can't. Well, neither one of the next gen consoles really easily could use external drives with them, so that was a nuisance. And the worst part of all, there was nothing that said buy a Series X. And I'm talking about like games. When the NES came out, why did people want to buy an NES? Super Mario Brothers. When the PlayStation came out, why did people want to buy the original PlayStation? Final Fantasy VII. I don't know. That wasn't at the actual launch, but you get what I'm going with it. There was not a single exclusive game for the Xbox Series X. Everything that came out for the Series X was also available on its predecessor console, because Microsoft's stance on it was, we are a family of consoles and everything will be playable going forward, which is great. It's great in an idea, but
why buy it?
Exactly. Why buy it?
Well, look, and I don't like exclusivity. I get it, from a marketing standpoint, but I want to be able to play Zelda on PlayStation, and I want to be able to play Halo on Switch, and I feel like Microsoft is always just about, the power and the hardware. So the people that are, for some reason, interested in that and not the important part, which is the content and the library, they're going to go for that. But I don't know. I don't get it. I like Halo too, but
I mean, I don't even know a lot about this stuff, but I feel like you really have to be an Xbox fan to want to continue buying Xbox consoles.
That would be the most accurate thing. Like, when I ask people, like, oh, you're going with the Series X, like, what made you decide on that one? Oh, because I have an Xbox One, so I'm just going to go with the next console. Well, you know what? Okay, fine. I'll give you that reasoning as to why you're going to go with that console over the competition console. But why would you need to buy this $500 machine? Because the Series X was $500 retail, $499.99 at launch, and you can't find them, just like you can't find the PlayStation 5. And it's not offering anything that the Xbox One X doesn't offer. Xbox One X offers full 4K gaming, full 4K Blu-ray play.
What's the difference then?
Potential in the future. The solid state drive and the processing power give you a higher potential for future. But that's literally it. I'm not going to spend the $500 now for the future.
Right. It's a gamble. You don't know if anything would even ever come of it. It could be one of those consoles that just ends up dead in the water. But you said you cannot plug an external into it.
You can plug an external hard disk drive into it to utilize with Xbox One and previous generation games. But to expand your solid state drive, because it uses a solid state drive, and playing anything that is optimized for Series X requires solid state installation. Like, it will not utilize an external solid state drive. You have to actually buy a proprietary memory card. Scotty's like, all right,
the moment you said proprietary, because I mean, let me give you an example that's totally unrelated to gaming. SodaStream. SodaStream is a company that was an innovator, and they're based in Israel, and they basically say, hey, you no longer have to buy soda at the store that's filled with all this unhealthy shit like, partially hydrogenated corn syrup or whatever, was the health fad at the time. And they started offering the ability for you to create your soda at home and make it the way you want. Like, you want unsweetened? Okay, fine, here, and then you can add your own sweetener. Or that, you want more carbonation, less carbonation. What they didn't tell people is that you must buy from them the proprietary CO2 tanks.
Mm-hmm.
And proprietary because it had a nozzle on it that didn't fit any other standard CO2 tanks that you could buy anywhere.
Right, and they make more money that way.
Yes. And okay, so that makes sense from a business point, but the moment I started reading it, I'm like, fuck you, SodaStream. I can get my soda from the store.
Yep.
I don't need your bullshit. I was even looking in it at the time at making my own, and there was a YouTuber that had like some little plastic 3D printed piece that you could buy for $5 on eBay to make your own and use a standard CO2 tank that you could buy anywhere. And it's like, why would I bother with any of this stuff? And then,
Nope, not worth it.
Anytime they come up with something proprietary, to me, that's the death of the product.
I don't. The only pass I give on proprietary for anything to do with gaming or consoles is if they're doing it because they genuinely are doing it as some kind of copyright protection.
Yeah,
like proprietary discs, so it's harder for people to rip the games onto their computers, things like that. But yeah, anything to do with memory and things that are flexible as they start releasing more games, and games are getting up to be like 100 gigs a piece and more. How big is that? Like, what sizes do they come in? Because whatever it is, whatever your answer is, Cage, it's not enough. However much room is in there on that solid state isn't enough. Unless you only buy the system to just play a few games, and that's it.
Well, and
playing that Fortnite.
Yeah, and like I was saying about game companies adapting, same thing with the console companies. They have to be aware that at some point they're going to want to come out with a console where all you have to do is plug in your external hard drive, and boom, you've got as much space as you personally need.
Yeah.
And there's no problems with it.
Yeah. Or just start putting 10 terabytes in every console, and if they use it, good. If they don't, they don't. With what they're charging for them, they can afford that.
I mean, you can go out there. I've seen, like I was looking at purchase for myself a 5 terabyte standard external hard drive, and Staples had one for $105.
Yeah.
I mean, back in my day when I was DJing,
Back in my day,
Pepperidge Farm remembers. Like in my DJing days, I had to have an external delayed laughter.
Sorry.
That's all right. I had to have for my DJing days an external hard drive to hold all of my music. I had to have a minimum of 2 terabytes to hold everything, and that came at a steep price for a good short while there. Like, I mean, I think at one time I paid close to $250 for a 2 terabyte drive back in 2008.
And just a few years before that, he had one song on a floppy disk.
Yes.
And so there There was cases, pallets and pallets
Yes.
of floppy disks.
That's my nickname for my dick, floppy disk.
Floppy disk.
You'd be surprised how many DJs used to carry around crates of vinyl because that was their shtick, and they would literally hauling around 600 or 700 vinyl records.
Mm-hmm.
And these crates that had to be carted in and out, and you need a cargo van to haul it all. And yeah, no.
My mom used to DJ back in the mid to late 90s, just like probably not as involved as like you were with it, Scotty. Just I say DJ, she had equipment. She would go to a place and literally just put like CDs in
Right.
things. But she had these big zipper containers that held 200 CDs each, and she had like 10 or 12 of them that she would have to load in her car each weekend to take and go to places.
Now that's how I started back in 2002. That's when I started DJing, or 2001, late 2001. I had the same thing, but I only had like 2 or 3 because I didn't have that much music at the time. So as I continued over that career purchasing new discs, and not only regular music, I was a karaoke DJ, so I had to have all of the new karaoke discs that came out, plus going and getting back catalog, but then all the new music that was just regular dance music to play as well. So I had all these discs piling up, and I said, okay, this is crazy. I'm not going to carry around 10 or 20 or 30 of these cases, simply because that's a popular method for carrying around CDs at the time. Why? Because most people don't have more than 200 CDs. So it wasn't that big of a deal to carry around that binder. So I had to turn to paper sleeves that would sit in a crate, all vertical like that, and then number them to be able to find something quickly. And it was compact enough that I wasn't carrying around all that stuff. And then in 2008 or so, that's when I decided to go digital and just rip all the CDs, and all I'm taking in is my laptop and an external hard drive. But I mean, that's the same thing that we're talking about with these consoles. Is you eventually have to understand as the developer that your client, your customer, that is the person purchasing the console, is going to want to have all of their favorite games there ready to go. Not you have to delete this data from your PS4 to be able to download this new game that you want, and then maybe go back and get it again later, even because you've purchased it and you can re-download it later. But nobody wants to wait for those download times when these games are huge, over a gigabyte now, and have to do all that waiting game. And if they were smart about it, they would just put in that ability to plug in your external hard drive so you can store all your games and then just go.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it honestly, I think Microsoft, because Microsoft has announced that they have intentions to really like deal with cloud gaming in the future. I believe that is their end game, and that's part of the reason why they're going to turn people off to the idea of having this game and that game and all these games stored on your hard drive. Let's just stream them directly from the cloud, because that was one of the features that it touted about when it was coming out, was cloud gaming. And I think truly, because like the last GameStop store that I worked in before I left that company was in a very podunk area. You get a mile outside of town and you don't have internet anymore.
Yeah.
Like, these game developers or console developers don't understand that not everyone has access to grade A internet.
And not only that, what you're talking about, cloud gaming, is going to rely on broad-based market fiber optic. That's the only way to really do that. In so many places, we are still using copper wire. And they were talking about making the switch to fiber optic 20 years ago. And it's just now getting to the point in the last 2-3 years that companies like AT&T and Cox and all of those places are starting to offer that.
Well, and that's just
Comcast.
That's still ruling out the fact that what does that have to do with video games? Is Microsoft gonna come run a fiber optic line for me with the price of the console? No.
Which limits the ability even more of what their potential market is for the customers that are going to be able to actually play it.
Or even if they can afford it or can get internet, how many steps do you want to have to go through to be able to play? PlayStation Now, how popular is that even around still?
It is, yes. They actually just announced some changes to it with PlayStation Plus as well.
Well, so they're still trying, but it was never that popular.
Okay, let's wrap up this discussion by watching the trailer for the PS5 that came out on June 11th, 2020.
More balls.
We got nothing but balls at the end of 2020.
The Wi-Fi router.
Blue ball. Yep.
Yeah, and short and sweet, yeah, you're 100% accurate. We just recently changed our internet provider because we wanted better quality internet. We wanted to see about getting those gig speeds, that they advertise with fiber optic internet. And there was not a single fiber optic service in our area yet, and we live in a reasonably good sized town.
You live in the ass crack of America.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we live in a reasonably good sized town in the ass crack of America.
But yeah, I mean, of course, with the development of the ability to sell fiber optic internet service to customers that AT&T started, I think it was 3 years ago, or 3.5, 4 years ago. They had to literally install all of the hardware. And it's taken them this long just to get major cities in there. How much longer? Is it going to be another 10 years at least before they actually have fiber optic out to the country and the smaller towns that makes up 80% of America?
The place you need to play video games because there's nothing else to do around you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but I mean, they don't have broadband in those areas. Like, if they don't have broadband by now, like, fiber optic is going to either they're going to just skip broadband and just put fiber optic there, or at that point, that fiber optic is more readily available, broadband will finally become available.
That trailer didn't show off any IP. Microsoft's trailer, at least, you saw Master Chief and some other Forza car or something.
Well, now, hold on. This is a hardware reveal trailer.
Oh, okay. That's why.
We can maybe look and see.
I just think it's ironic because how many Microsoft exclusives are there?
Because Demon Souls was released at the same time as the PlayStation 5 release.
Right.
So let's see what other trailers maybe they have available here.
Or just punch in launch titles PS5, see what comes up. Although it might not be like reveals like that. It might be you're gonna get a lot of people talking about them.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
This is a GameSpot trailer.
Helps me reach engaged customers like Jenna,
who's
been searching for landscape.
So.
Okay, Horizon.
Exploration.
Spider-Man.
It's in our DNA. There's something inside each and every one of us that compels us to know the unknown. To push past every frontier. You want to see what's never been seen. Hear what's never been heard. Feel what's never been felt. There are no limits to where we'll go, to what we'll discover, to what we'll achieve. We are all explorers. And there are new worlds to explore.
Right. Well, it was like the same footage from the same 4 games, but that's cool. It looks nice, you know.
I also got to imagine at some point they're maybe going to step away from this constant one-upmanship of their previous thing. Yes, we've got good graphics, but now it's all kind of the same, and all kind of the same with Hollywood as well. There's only so much you can do with cinematic graphics and appeal as far as that goes before you have to move on to the next thing. And honestly, I don't know how much better they can get in the graphics department, aside from having systems that run these games without any problem, no delay, minimal download time and whatever else.
Well, and that was kind of what they, again, they were touting that the idea that these systems were built for the future in mind. I believe both systems talked about having or being 4K, or not only 4K compatible out of the box, but 8K capable. Which 8K is still not really a thing yet. You know what I mean? Like, it's a thing that's been talked about, the next step in the visual evolution of like monitors and TVs and things of that nature. But these systems are designed with 8K in mind for the future. So maybe that will be what are you talking about, short and sweet?
He missed it.
Amen. Cage is not really a thing.
Whatever. Anyways, but yeah, like, they're built for the future, so that next graphical jump has not happened yet.
Well, what I'm saying is, obviously, when you make a jump from, say, a CRTV, a tube TV to an LCD, you notice definitely the improvement in graphics, the resolution. When we first started coming out with the first 1080p TVs, okay, and now up to the 4K and the Ultra HD stuff. So they have 8K, but how much more can they really cram into that? We're going to increase the resolution. So eventually we're going to have 16K and 32K. But is it going to really make a difference to how a person visually sees that thing playing on their TV?
Right, probably not a noticeable
monitor. Yeah.
Most human eyes can't detect
exactly, which means, this is what I was trying to say earlier, is that to me it's like they're almost reaching a glass ceiling there, that they have to come up with something, and maybe VR is the way to do that, by making it a far more immersive experience,
or rebuild even how like pixels are displayed in a way that's noticeably somehow sharper, which I don't know if you've ever seen anything. I watched a movie on a 4K TV, and you can tell the difference. It is very crispy, like to the point where it's almost like the actors and things in the movie were almost like you could see the pores and the lines in their face. Like, it was intense. It was almost too much. I can see how that'd be cool, especially for something like CGI and anime and gaming. But yeah, it was almost a turn-off to see everybody's fleshy face.
Well, you're maybe not right. Short and Sweet just commented in our live chat that they'll make new eyeballs for us to wear when we're watching TV. Yeah. I was just thinking they probably, because imagine how far laser surgery has come over the last 20, 30 years to correct a person's vision. Why couldn't they come up with like an Xbox Kinect or Wii style box that sits on top of your TV that beams lasers into your eyes so that the images are burned right into your retina or something? Who knows? Who knows what they're going to come up with next? That's the beauty of technological advancement. But I'm saying, as far as like viewing TV or movie or video game content on a screen, there's only so far they can go with that visual acuity, like Cage said, because of the limitations of the human eye.
Right.
And then they're gonna.
I really believe 4K is that, and the reason I think that is because it honestly looked sharper somehow to me than real life, almost, in a way. It was almost looking at a 4K TV, almost was like having better vision. But yeah, I think there's got to be a limit as to what the eye can pick up. I like your idea, beam it into the eyeball. There is no screen. All you see is the movie, right?
Well, I got to imagine that really the next direction they're going to have to go with that sort of thing is immersive experience.
Yeah. The VR will make it come up.
Making it seem that you're inside the game rather than playing the game and watching it on a screen.
Right.
Or even, VR. VR is an immersive experience, but it's still not immersive enough to the point where you know that you're not in the game, that you're still in a room sitting there with a headset on.
Yeah.
How many videos did you see of people that were, playing VR games and they go to smack something in the ear and end up killing their TV because they're a dumbass?
Hilarious.
But, that I can only imagine that's the only direction really they have left to go in for that, is to make it more immersive rather than trying to, improve resolution. Yeah. Or rather, also improve the dynamic of the game. Like, you move the controller, the joypad, or the joystick, and it is instantaneous. There is no delay whatsoever. Those sort of upgrades and improvements. But I don't know.
Yeah, game mechanical improvement, which
was
almost always not a priority over graphics anyways.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna wrap up here after not too much longer, but we'll cover, I think, maybe 2 more games. So next is Resident Evil Village, that came out on... Where did it come out? May 7th of 2021. So the day after my birthday, a year ago. So we're coming up on a year that was released. This is one of Cage's favorites, particularly because of just how many pixels are in Lady Dimitrescu's ass.
That is completely not true. That is Doom's reason for loving this game.
Well, it'd be her boobs, right?
The boobs, the ass, the hat. I mean, the fact that she's like 42 feet tall. All right, here we go. Resident Evil Village.
Probably the biggest game of 2021. Also the biggest butt.
Biggest game, biggest lady.
Biggest game, biggest lady.
Long ago, a young girl went with her mother to pick berries for her father, who was hard at work.
I still haven't tried this. I want to.
It's really good. Honestly, Joel, have you played the other Resident Evil games?
Some of them.
This game to me truly is kind of like the pinnacle of a Resident Evil game. Like everything that it has been, they captured it all.
Okay, so it's a culmination of all of it. That's cool.
I thought it's very different though from the previous Resident Evil games, in that this includes vampires and werewolves, where
just a local tale.
Almost everything prior to that in Resident Evil dealt with like apocalyptic zombie mutants and all that, right?
For the most part.
Yeah, they've kind of shifted everything away from just the simplisticness of zombies, No, like, so Resident Evil at its core has like started as a survival horror game with some elements of action and adventure, but a lot of puzzles, you know, and it evolved from there to more of an action game. This is more of a take back to the original survival horror, but the way the game's divided out, it hits on like each of the individual elements that have ever made up. The first part is a very traditional puzzle, wandering, collecting, survival. The second part is a straight survival horror, like Amnesia type game. If you've ever played Amnesia, Scotty, I know you haven't played it, but you want to, where you don't fight. You have to figure out how to get out without the use of your weapons. You know, and then you've got some platforming, and then you've got a straight action adventure. Like, all of this all rolled into one game.
I would like that. Looks good.
Yeah, the graphics are stunning.
I spent the most time on 4 was my peak Resident Evil. I've dabbled in the other games, but 4 is the one I know, like, the back of my hand could play that game in my sleep.
Why?
That's cool.
And watching last year, you know, many of the streamers in our community playing Village, including Cage, yeah, the storyline looks immaculate. It just they obviously put a lot of blood and sweat and tears and time into creating something fabulous here. And in fact, I don't think I've heard anybody that didn't like it. Out of the people that I watched playing it, and I'm not necessarily one to look at reviews because I think most critics are just talking out their ass half the time and get paid for it. But you know, that real time review where, you know, you're watching a streamer play it for the first time and you know, sitting on the edge of their seat to see what's happening next, that definitely speaks volumes about how good the actual story and gameplay is.
Yeah, Village was up for multiple Game of the Year awards, including like the Video Game Awards. It was up for that. I can't remember. I want to say that it did not win Game of the Year, but I'm going to find out here real quick. Game of the Year. It did not win. It was up for it. And I think that's the first time in a while that Resident Evil has had a game up for Game of the Year. Honestly, Resident Evil 7, it was big, but not Game of the Year big. The remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 3, big, but not that big.
Well, the bar was low because 6 bombed, so all they had to do was make a semi-decent game with 7, and it was going to do okay.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like Resident Evil 6, like in Short and Sweet can attest to this. We played the holy hell out of 5. It was
5's wonderful, underrated, I think.
Yeah. It was one of the like very very few games that now we had it on Xbox 360, but like the equivalency of a platinum trophy on PlayStation. We did everything. We had every single achievement unlocked. We played through every single difficulty, including the final like nightmare difficulty. Like we did everything in that game. 5 was just like great, and then 6 came out. We were super excited because they were going to offer co-op on 6 again. Like we can play together. This is going to be great. And then 6 was a large disappointment. And I think that kind of did start a small downfall in the Resident Evil franchise. That they tried to like bring people back by remaking 2 because everyone had wanted it.
Well, yeah, because the gap between 6 and 7 was years, wasn't it? 6 was like PS3 360. But the remakes have always been solid. They seem that way.
Resident Evil 2 remake, in my opinion, was fantastic. Resident Evil 3 remake, little lacking.
Okay. I played the demos, but that's about as far as I got.
I think I did see Resident Evil 2 and 3 Markiplier play at least portions of it, and it looked pretty solid. I mean, for a modern game.
Yeah.
It was
storyline and the mechanics and all that.
2012 was Resident Evil 6. 2017 was 7.
Yeah, almost a whole fucking console generation there.
Yeah.
Oh.
There was a Resident Evil Revelations 2 that dropped in 2015, but
I glossed over that because I never played the first one.
Yeah, it was like a side story.
Yeah.
So.
All right, and if you have not done so, I highly recommend Googling Lady Dimitrescu Rule 34.
Yes.
So that you can see all of the DLC content that comes with Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
Yes. No. Don't do that. I don't want to be accused of promoting anything that's going to put people in jail.
Not unless you're getting a cut from Rule 34 on that ad revenue.
No, I just like spreading mayhem and chaos and destruction and the soiling of young minds. So, yeah. If you're listening on the audio version of the podcast, just completely ignore the last 60 seconds. Thank you very much. Good night. No.
Ignore the last, 2 hours.
Or the entire podcast. Just, throw it out. We did get a very nice review on the Apple Podcasts website not too long ago. And... I hear a lot, like the podcast that I listen to, they'll say, the way that you can help us out is by going on Apple Podcasts and leaving a review, because that kicks us up in the ratings and what, the suggested podcasts that are shown on the main page and all that. And I'm like, dude, I got one review on my podcast. All right. Yeah. Either way, we appreciate everybody that is interested not only in the EBC channel but the RCADE podcast. It really is just a feather in my hat to be able to have something that I am producing and putting out there that people like and enjoy. So I really do appreciate anybody that is enjoying this podcast as well as anything else we put on.
He really likes that feather in his ass.
Yes. I love feathers in my hat.
I was going to say, he definitely said hat, but whatever.
Yeah. I'm not shoving the feathers up my ass, that's for sure. That's
what Joel just said.
Sharp. I don't, Anyway, let's look at Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, which is Ben from the Gaming Avengers' favorite game in all of history. Yes, Skyward Sword, and the only reason I'm doing this one is because it's pretty much the only thing that came out during 2020 and 2021 that was like a massive thing related to the Zelda universe.
And yet it was a port of a Wii game.
Yeah.
With a fresh coat of paint.
Right.
It's not a new original game. It's a remake, kind of. Not even.
Not even so much as just the fact that they decided to do a remake of this game, right?
Legend of Zelda.
They swore up and down, we'll never do a remake of Skyward Sword. We won't do this because of, issues with the fact of the motion controls or blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. Money talks. People wanted it. They gave it to them. They made a crap ton of money off of it.
Yep.
The Legend of Zelda, Skyward Sword HD.
But I'd rather play that game with a controller anyways, and I've never played the Wii version.
On an island
my first time playing it, I want to play with a controller.
Now, I did play the Wii version. I never completed it. It's one of the few Zelda games that I've never completed. I'm going to leave that up to Short and Sweet, as she is going to play.
Nice.
And she's going to sneeze
childhood friend.
repeatedly.
Zelda.
As she is
One
going
day,
to
Zelda is
play the
engulfed by a
entire Zelda
whirlwind
series
and sent plummeting
over the
beneath
course
the
of time.
clouds.
And
Link takes flight to
Starting
find
with
her
2.
wherever she may be.
well, starting,
During
she
his
did the first
adventure,
one. Remember, she did the
Link can
first one
freely
already.
Oh, yeah, that's
explore
right.
the skies by riding on this colossal
But she is
bird,
going
a
to
loftwing.
play through this, so I'll get a chance to watch her play through this.
And
But I
under the
do
dense
still
layer of
own
clouds lies
the
a
gold
land
Wii remote. I had the
uncharted.
bundle
Nice.
with it.
Until now,
It was a lot cooler to be able to
a
play
lush
with
forest
the motion
teeming with
control
nature,
on this one, like actual
an
one-to-one
active
motion,
volcano,
versus Twilight Princess,
and
where
a
you can just
desert
like
where an
flick
ancient
your
civilization
wrist
slumbers.
with the Wii remote,
Right.
Various
and he'll go
inhabitants call this
buck
surface
wild with the
world their
sword.
home, their lives differing from those
I've
residing
watched
above.
a couple
Link
people
must
play it,
journey
including
through this
Ben, Abby, and
mysterious
Isaac
land,
from the Gaming Avengers.
Yeah.
summoning the aid of
And
creatures like these in his search
you
for
can do
clues
full motion
regarding
controls
Zelda's
using the
whereabouts.
Joy-Con for the Switch, or you can actually use the right analog stick
However,
to like flick
malevolent
it in a
monsters
direction, and
roam
he'll
about.
swing the sword in that
To
direction.
stand a chance against them, Link must
Yeah,
rely
Pro
upon his
controller.
sword and shield. The Joy-Con controllers correspond
The one
to
thing I
Link's
do
sword
know
and
about this
shield.
game is
Gently swing the
that it
right
is
Joy-Con controller vertically,
very
horizontally,
friendly,
or
because as I
diagonally.
mentioned earlier
To
in the
swing
stream,
Link's
the
sword
one
in the
streamer that
respective
I
direction.
follow,
Raise the left
Epileptic
Joy-Con controller
Gamer,
to raise Link's shield
which
and
you
block
can
incoming
find
attacks.
her
This
at
can return enemy fire or create an opening
/an
to strike
Epileptic
back.
Gamer.
Button-only
So
controls have been
AN
added to ensure the
and
game
then
can be played
Epileptic
in
Gamer,
handheld mode or
and
on the
she
Nintendo Switch
is
Lite system.
basically as a person with
Over the course
epilepsy
of the adventure,
trying to bring
Link will acquire
awareness
an assortment of
to
items.
people who
Use the beetle to
about
survey distant
games
locations
and
from
the
the
problems
air, or
that it
pick up
often
and
causes,
carry
especially
objects.
retro
Pull
stuff with
enemies close with
epilepsy.
the whip, or swing from
Flashing
it
lights
after latching on to
or
certain targets.
wavy lines
Together,
coming
you
in and
Link
out.
must master
Apparently,
these items and others
she
as you
played this
bravely venture
as
forth
a fan
into
of the
the
Zelda
unknown.
series and had zero problems.
Mm.
Like the amount of even modern games that have problems with graphics causing people with epilepsy
A
problems
multitude of
to the point
trials
where
and
they're just not able to play it
spread across
is
the realms
insane.
of land
And
and
some
sky,
game developers
lie and
have
wait.
started to address those concerns. Some of them that are very acutely aware of this, even going as far as to have a mode in the game that you can turn on. That if you have epilepsy, it doesn't have
is where the
flashing lights or
legend
anything like that.
begins.
Which is a nice
The
It
touch.
really
Legend
is.
of
That is
Zelda.
that's beautiful.
Skyward
That is
Sword
that is
HD.
inclusion that needs to happen on a greater scale.
The game is also
And
compatible with the
just
Zelda
like
and Loftwing
a separate issue that's not related to that, but it's kind of the same thing, having a mode in a game where the game is playing non-DMCA music, so that if you're streaming the game, you're never going to have an issue with your streaming platform saying, sorry, you can't play this because it's got music in it.
Well, that's the problem if you have a great game soundtrack that gets released as a soundtrack on the internet and on Spotify and all that. It's run through SoundScan and DistroKid and all of those services. It's going to pick that up.
Right. Which I'm not so sure they necessarily do that a lot, but there's definitely certain games that will license out for other music that does appear naturally because it was on an album released by an artist.
Oh, licensed music. Yeah, like Tony Hawk games. It's nothing but rock and rap and pop and metal.
Well, and you think about it, like Joel, one of the games that you had played on stream at one point, and one of my favorite games, period, like Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
Right.
Like how much great music is on that?
Yeah.
Like on that radio stations in the cars, and that really make you feel like you're in the 80s, but you have to be careful with that.
Right.
I remember you had to turn it all off because otherwise it was going to, it was going to end up getting a strike on you.
Because... and luckily that game has an option to turn your radio down,
Yeah.
But anytime you're driving around.
And this is all part and parcel of the same thing that we've touched on several times in different ways, and that is game developers, console developers, even streaming platforms, giving the people that are their clients, that are using their services, their customers, options that they want to make it a better gameplay experience, such as a person with epilepsy being able to go in there and just flip the switch, and all of a sudden it's a game that they have no problem playing. Okay, and those game developers that are on top of that and putting those into every single game they produce now are the ones that are going to go far, or at least that's going to assist in that sort of thing, because they're seeing that the market needs to have that kind of inclusive nature in the games that are coming out, because it's been such a huge problem in the past. I mean, even just Dr. Mario on NES that I play, or Tetris, okay? You go and you get a Tetris, and the screen flashes several times because that was just what they put in the game, and there's no way to get around that. So if I go to stream Tetris or Dr. Mario or any of those games that flash the screen, even Castlevania, if you're in the swamp in Castlevania 2, the background flashes between red and black, and you can't do that. So if I want to stream that, I definitely have to have, and I also want to be inclusive myself, I have to have a disclaimer there that if you have epilepsy, you can't watch this because it's going to harm you. And that to me is kind of a shame that more game developers haven't started moving towards that method of creation, because it's just not on their radar, or they haven't gotten enough feedback from people, because maybe a person with epilepsy is going to say to themselves, okay, I can't play this game because it's going to harm me, but they then don't necessarily take the next step to contact the developer and say, hey, I can't play your game. I love it, but I can't play it. And that's one thing that streamer Epileptic Gamer has done, is she's kind of become an ambassador for the Epilepsy Foundation of America, and regularly contacts game developers and says, hey, this is not going to work. And that's gotten some results at times, where the developer sends her an email back and says, hey, we hear you, and here's how we're addressing that situation. And that goes miles.
Yeah, and a lot of developers probably will respond in a positive way. Of course, we all know the realism of the world. There are developers that will be like, see, adding a mode like that would cause extra time, that would take up extra money, blah 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 this, blah 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 that. They're just not going to do it. So, I mean, it's one of those give and takes, and it's nice to see when they add those options to be inclusive of everyone. And in a perfect world, I think people that have epilepsy issues, they wouldn't have to deal with that,
right?
But it's nice when certain companies do actually take the steps to try to include people. I've seen colorblind. There are colorblind settings in some games. A couple years ago, Microsoft came out with an adaptive controller for people who are like paraplegic, quadriplegic, have issues using a standardized controller, and that kind of stuff is very cool.
Yeah, that's what's up. Oh, and they have glasses now for colorblind people.
Yeah, I saw that. Or if you're deaf, they have the cochlear implant. That that's obviously more of a modern development that they would provide to people that are born deaf or have been deaf all their life. But it's starting to become a more modern medical treatment. Is to include that as an option so that people that are deaf can hear. But yeah, all right, we're gonna do one last trailer here. This is for the new movie coming out here fairly soon, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. We had Jim Carrey and that weird ass looking 3D model they had for Sonic the Hedgehog 1 before they redesigned it because all the fans were like, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Before they were bullied into redesigning it.
Right.
Glad they did that.
And
it
now,
worked for them.
Yeah, at least it worked. You know, what they decided to do was what the fans ended up liking for that. So now they're coming out with the second movie, and Jim Carrey announced that this is probably going to be his last film. He's about ready to retire, he says. So this might be the last credit to his name. Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Oh, great, the Winter Soldier.
Done it all.
These rings signify the commitment.
So help me, Thomas! Sorry. Life or death situation, I need you to use the ring to save me, like right now.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
Hawaii.
I just hope we're not too late.
Oh Lord, there are two of them now.
What's happening?
Okay, quick version. Robotnik is back.
I've discovered the
I
source
didn't
of
actually.
ultimate power.
I didn't realize they actually called him Dr. Robotnik in this. I thought they were calling him Dr. Eggman.
You rock some kind of space porcupine.
I am an echidna warrior.
Okay, mustache twirls.
It's time
Yeah.
to say goodbye to humanity. Welcome to the new norm.
This is your moment to be the big hero.
Bad time to say this, but I don't actually have a plan. Hey, you got a little something on your... belly?
Someone call an Uber? It's cold in here. Let's turn up the heat.
Oh, great, the Winter Soldier. Fear not, citizens.
I feel like they already said that once in this trailer.
Your negative
Right.
attitude is not helping.
We stick together, no matter what.
You're unskilled, untrained, unworthy.
You forgot one. Unstoppable.
Stand still and die.
For a guy named Knuckles, you are really bad at punching.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely getting some MCU feelings there.
I liked the first one.
Kinda. I was going to ask if either one of you guys had seen the first one. I have not seen it, honestly.
Me neither.
I thought it was pretty good. You know, it's not. It's what you expect. But I don't think any of it was bad. It's that halfway mark between we're going to milk this cash cow from the Sonic franchise and the other end of that spectrum, which is we're trying to be pretty faithful to the source material, I guess. I don't know. I can't officially say that. I never read any of the comics, even though I own some of them, but I played a lot of the games, so. Did you see, Cage, did you see Detective Pikachu?
I did not.
Okay, I was going to say it was probably on par with that, and a lot of people liked that.
What the hell, Cage?
I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it either, but, you know.
Then shut up.
Well, you guys aren't the hugest Pokemon fans. I mean, I'm not either, but, you know. If I'm going to go to the movies, I'm going to see a video game movie, I guess.
There's so many movies that have come out that I want to see, but I didn't want to see in theater. So, like, I'll wait until I, you know, maybe 7 years later see it on a streaming service and like, oh, yeah, I wanted to see that, you know. That's how I keep up with the times, you know.
That's fair. I mean, maybe if there was a place that, you know, in our community that showed double features of movies, maybe you could watch.
Yeah,
Sonic
that would be really
Detective Pikachu.
nice to just go to some place where you can see all sorts of movies and you know, watch them with your friends and also be in like a standard community where there's all sorts of different topics that you would like to expound on. Oh, it's not even working. Oh, there it goes. It's just delayed. Fucking Fossilbot. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, want to thank everybody for joining us. We're going to wrap up here. Arcade Nostalgia Memories Podcast. This has been Season 1, Episode 10 with my co-host Cage and my brother SRGC, also known as Joel. And I want to thank you all for joining us. So we're going to, like I said, have 2 more episodes in the season. The first one is probably going to be on April 17th, which is Easter, but we got to double check on that and make sure. And then we're going to take a month, and then our final episode for the season will be, I believe, on May 15th. But those are tentative dates for the final 2 episodes. So if you want to check out the live broadcast where we record the podcast live, you want to go to the website, which is www.ebc2021.com, and check out the schedule. Usually within a week of something, we have the date and time firm, and you can check out all the information there. Again, that is ebc2021.com, and see what's coming up on the schedule, including our next major audio drama. This is the 4th audio drama from Enigma Blockbuster Cinema Productions, and that is Realms Unknown, The Butterfly Decision. It's going to be a great time, so if you are into that sort of thing, we ask you to stop by the channel. That is twitch.tv/EBC2021, and that will be on Sunday, May 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you are so inclined, we'd love it if you could stop by just to be able to check out that major production. Well, at least for us, it's a major production, and we have so much fun putting those together and then premiering them to the community. And yeah, just check out the website. All the information is there that you need, and hopefully we will see you next time. So I'm Scotty here for Arcade Nostalgia Memories Podcast. We'll see you later. Take care. Good night. Goodbye. See ya. All right, for everybody here on the actual live broadcast on Twitch, we appreciate you for coming, including our raid from a Sleight of Game earlier. We're going to be raiding out here ourselves to, unless anybody else has another suggestion, the one and only himself, Glockenspiel Goose, who is doing some Mario Lego on stream, and I've enjoyed his broadcast so far of that. So
cool.
Actually, he's opening some Pokemon cards right now.
Oh,
he was doing the NES Lego set.
That Fink. What are we gonna do here? Okay, so yeah, well, either way, if he's doing that, or maybe he'll get back to his Mario Lego in a minute. But it's a nice, fun, chill stream. And I appreciate him doing stuff like that. So let's go over to coming attractions real quick. So first of all, tomorrow night, our standard public domain movie night. Hold on, let me do one thing here. What am I looking at here? This one? No. Oh, I need this one. There we go. Okay. All right. So our regular public domain movie night is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. A movie that I've been trying to do for 3 weeks, but other things have been kind of hampering that effort. So we are doing it tomorrow as scheduled, and that'll be 7 p.m. tomorrow for Of Human Bondage. This is the film that pretty much made Bette Davis's career. It's a great psychological drama, and I highly recommend it. You probably never heard of it though, because it's not necessarily like a more popular movie from that era that people in our time know. But it is, in my opinion, a great movie. So check that out here on EBC tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Then a little bit later that night, starting at 9 p.m. in the Conflux Discord, Soylent Green from 1973. Everybody really needs something, and what they need is Soylent Green. If you've not seen this movie, I also highly recommend it, and that will be in the Conflux Discord starting at 9 o'clock. Then coming up on April 10th, X Squad on Cage's channel, and that is going to be Mr. Wrong, Ben of the Gaming Avengers, Angle Doom, and Legion Cage himself playing Mega Man X. Cage, tell us a little bit more about X Squad. What's happening on Sunday, April 10th? Wait. Hold on. I fucked it up. Hold on. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay, you're on.
Thank you for unmuting me. All right. So, as most people who know, our little group of people here, Mega Man X is one of my and Ben's favorite games. Actually, if you were present for the Gaming Avengers arcade episode, you would definitely know that. So, Ingle Doom and Mr. Wrong have never beaten, like, Mr. Wrong's never even played Mega Man X. Doom tried it one time and didn't quite get into it, and he had told us he kind of wanted to get into it. So that's where this kind of started, like this idea kind of started rolling. So what's going to happen is Ben is going to do a playthrough of the game when we start, and I will be commentating and kind of like explaining to them like what he's doing as he's doing it.
You're going to be Cage-splaining.
Yes. I mean, it'd probably be more Ben-splaining since I'm explaining what he's doing, but whatever. And then all four of us at the same time are going to play through the game. And the goal is for them to learn enough to be able to conquer this game.
Cool. Very nice. And is Doom, first of all, are you going to have just the game screens, or are you going to have everybody on cam too?
Everyone, we haven't figured out particulars yet, but we are able to, like, if you've been around for when I play Zelda 2 with Short and Sweet, how we have it set up that we have both our game screens and we're both on cam. My goal is to have everyone on cam as well as their game all on one screen. So you'll see 4 different partitions, all 4 of us playing all at the same time, and have us all on there too.
Okay,
So,
the only reason I ask is because I want to see Doom put on those cat whiskers that he has in your promo pic here for that stream. You think we can talk him into that?
I will definitely do my damnedest.
Just so it matches the promo screen.
That was the only picture I could, like, the only clear picture of his face that I could find.
Oh boy. Yeah. X Squad with cat whiskers.
I like how you didn't brighten up the lightness on Ben's face.
In fairness, when I put the 4 of us, like, our faces on the armors, I did it in probably about 10 minutes. Yeah. And it just kind of became funny. So, like, when I did, like, the actual, like, new logo and put on the Sunday, April 10th thing, I was just like, you know what, this is just entertaining, like, how bad this looks. I'm just gonna leave it.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Very representative of the X Squad's potential. So.
Exactly.
All right. So yeah, that's Sunday, April 10th at 5 p.m. on Cage's channel. And hold on, I got to do this again because I fucked it all up. There we go. Okay. So the next episode of Arcade, like I said, Sunday, April 17th, which is Easter. We might do it on the 16th. We might do it on the 24th. We might do it on the 23rd. But it will definitely be in that 2-week period, either the 16th, 17th, or 23rd or 24th. For our second to last episode of Arcade, and then, like I said, our last episode we're aiming for the middle of May, either the 14th or the 15th. So you can come back for that. And then also coming up, we got a special event here, and that is Short and Sweet's 1 year anniversary on Twitch. She's going to be doing a 12-hour stream to celebrate that. That's going to be on Saturday, April 30th. 12 p.m. noon until at least midnight. She might turn it into a 17-hour stream to beat Isnib, but at the very least, we will have a 12-hour stream and plenty of fun for that. Cage, do you have any more details besides what's on the screen for that?
I guess kind of to explain, like, in a tiny bit more detail. Yeah, she asked me about starting off the day with her with playing a retro game we still have to decide on, and she really enjoys doing the tier rankings. The One of the things that I hope she won't mind me kind of telling everyone, she has carpal tunnel syndrome in her wrist. She can't play games for super extended periods of time. So it makes something like this difficult. So when she asked for my help to kind of like do a schedule for this, we had to take that into account, that she was going to need time to like rest her hand in between like major gameplay sessions. So that's why we have things like tier rankings. She wanted to do something unique and interesting that that at least neither one of us have seen anyone do, which is a blind taste testing. She is 100% trusting me to get to find something for her to taste on the stream.
What a fool.
Which is probably right.
Wait, let me get this straight. She's going to be blindfolded.
Yep.
And you're allowed to insert things into her mouth.
Yep.
Cool. Just checking.
And she's trusting you. What a fucking fool, man.
Well, it still has to be things that go in her mouth that are appropriate for Twitch. So, so
I'm gonna mail you
again. That means no nipples.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So she's doing that, and then she's going to do a try not to laugh challenge, because that's one of our favorite things. Is to sit there and watch those funny vines and stuff and see if we can not laugh. She wants to do that live on stream.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, I did that with Mr. Wrong, and that was real fun.
A lot of fun. And then the big thing, the thing that I feel like is probably, maybe not in her mind, but in my mind, one of the biggest things here is at 6 p.m. she is going to attempt the Coptimus Crime Metroid Master Challenge.
Yes.
For anyone who is unfamiliar with that, a member of our community, Coptimus Crime, a little over a year ago, showed everyone that the game Metroid, which is like considered one of the toughest games on the NES, is actually silly easy as long as you know where you're going. A lot of the members of the community have completed it, and she wants her turn now. She wants to go after it. She wants to, be able to conquer a game, that is super quote unquote difficult. So, not that she's not already doing that by playing Zelda 2 with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, it's going to be a very good time.
Yeah, that'll be fun, and I put our Discord link in the chat again for anybody that would like to join the Discord. That's where you can find the information under the gaming challenges section on the Coptimus Crime Metroid Master Challenge, and you can just check that out at your leisure. It is very informative. Let me put it that way. If you've played Metroid before and you're like, I can't do this, it's too hard, and keep in mind that that's a very specific reason why that's one half of the Metroidvania class of games, is because of the difficulty in finding out like where you go, what you do in this game to actually beat the game. So Coptimus Crime really does take you through that step by step and show you exactly how to beat it and how to do so efficiently and all that. And then he has furthered the challenge with the opening of the Conflux Discord to include some higher challenges after you take his master class. and you can check that out all there. But yeah, that'll be fun to see. And a Gartic phone with the community at the end, that's going to be a blast too. We like playing Gartic phone and Scribble.io, and that's always a blast to play with the community. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep, absolutely. It's gonna be a great day, and I hope that anyone gets a chance to come out and hang with her as she celebrates her 1 year of affiliate. It is legitimately like her 1 year anniversary. She was invited to the affiliate program on April 30th of 2021. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so again, that's Saturday, April 30th. Mark it on your calendars. 12 p.m. noon to 12 a.m. midnight at least on Saturday, April 30th, and that's on Short and Sweet's channel, Short and Sweet 8402 on Twitch. Don't miss it. And also don't miss our big audio drama that I mentioned before, Realms Unknown, The Butterfly Decision, starring Cage all by his lonesome self and a bunch of other people. And I'll tell you what, this is a story I've been developing for some time. It's the first time I'm putting it out there in this capacity because it's a very specific style of story that I've wanted to do for quite some time. And I think it's going to be a blast. You know, everybody's going to really enjoy it. What we're presenting here, and the fine cast of actors that I've hired to bring this to life. Steph Babies, Ingledoom, Sleight of Game, Legion Cage, Joho, and Watch Whitney. All 6 of them will be starring in it, including myself. I have a little part too. But yeah, check it out. That's Sunday, May 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here on EBC. We'll really appreciate you stopping by for that. Yeah. So that's about it. And is Tuba Swan still playing with his? He's on Mario Kart now.
Cool.
All right, that'll work just as well. So let's do the thing with the thing and put the thing in the thing. The thing with the thing and the thingamabobber. That's what she said. All right, so thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Get your emotes out and chat. Some Ben Stein, some Twerking Kermits, some of Short and Sweet's owls that are just so absolutely disgusted with your entire existence, and send them all to Tuba Swan with my love. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow night for Public Domain Movie Night. Starting at 7 p.m. and then at 9 p.m. on the Conflicts Discord for Soylent Green. And yeah, don't do anything I wouldn't do, because I am not going to do that shit at all. Take it to the bank. Thank you. Adios. Bye-bye.